Welcome back to the Fly Lab. So this pattern today is going to be based on a pheasant tail soft hackle. I'm using purple thread, and this is a number 12 clink hammer. It is a Hannock, there's the exact one. So it's a 390 BL number 12 clink hammer. This is also great in 14s and 16s. And so I'm using purple silk for the thread. And then we're going to use this melanistic. It's like a dyed muskrat gray pheasant tail. So I'm just going to take a few fibers here, probably 5, 6, something like that. So about like that. I'm going to just trim off the ends of these here, just so it doesn't have that big clump on the end like that. Okay, then we're going to use the tails, the ends of these, for the tail of the fly. So we'll just apply these here like that. As soon as we get down towards the bend, we're going to add some copper wire in a small. So we'll just add the wire here next. Wrap that up a little ways. Okay, so we're going to trim off our extra pheasant tail, and that is going to be what we use to form the body here. So we'll just tie these in about right there. They do tend to splay out, so just try and capture them all as you go back up. Looks like I missed a couple. Yeah, I'm going to redo that. As neat as I try to make it in a video, I still seem to mess it up. Okay. I actually just give those a little more length here. There we go. Still missed one. That's okay. I got more than I need anyway, probably. All right, so at this point, I'm going to throw a whip finish in, because I want to use the rotary on my vise, and I don't want that coming off. I'm going to grab the pheasant tails with my CNF hackle pliers here. So I'm just going to pull them kind of up and tight without breaking them, hopefully. And then we will guide them around. You kind of have to be careful as you're coming around not to catch the hook. The point of the hook, these do break very easily. Trust me, I've done it many times. I'm going to give it one more turn there, just so I have a little extra room. And we will do a couple turns, 2 or 3 turns behind, a couple turns right in front, just to make sure those are nice and captured, and then we'll come in and just cut those clean. Give it a couple more turns. It's more than a couple. And then we'll throw in another whip finish real quick. Or real slow. I don't know why I say real quick. Who knows? Okay, next we want to do the copper wire, and we want to counter rib that, so we're going to run it the opposite way that we ran the pheasant tails. This wire's a little short, so I'm kind of losing grip on it here. I'm going to grab it with my hackle pliers, just to make it a little easier to wrap it. I don't think I could live without these CNF hackle pliers. That's definitely one tying tool. Gotta have some good hackle pliers. And I do like the CNFs. Okay, so once again, we'll put in a couple of wraps behind. Give it one more there. Do a couple in front. And then I'm just going to grip the thread and just give that a little helicopter. You want to have your thread pretty tight here so that as you helicopter it, you don't end up pulling it apart. Okay, so up until this point, it's pretty standard. I'm going to do one more thing. So you could either use actual peacock. I'm going to use just some Peacock Ice Dub instead of the actual little peacock fibers. And so we'll just apply some of this Peacock Ice Dub here. A little more than that. And you don't have to do a ton, just enough to give it like a little ball of hackle. It helps the soft hackle to kind of flare up. So I use this as a dry fly, but you can also use it as a wet fly under the surface. Works for both quite well. And I'll show you actually what I'm going to do with this. Okay. So next I want to add a little more thread up here, kind of build up a little base of thread for the hackle that I'm going to put on. And I am getting a little close to the eye here, but hopefully I've still got enough room. So what I'm actually going to do with this fly is I want a soft hackle and a stiff hackle. Now the reason for that is I really like the way the soft hackle looks, so I'm going to use a partridge feather. This is a relatively small partridge feather, and I'm gonna add this on first. So I want the partridge feather and the fibers from the partridge feather to kind of flare up towards the eye of the hook. The idea being is that I get that nice soft hackle look, and then I'm gonna put in front of this partridge feather, which gets a little tricky, and it isn't easy to apply, but I'm gonna try. We're going to put a stiff hackle as well. So this is actually going to have two different hackles on it. And I actually used this fishing quite a bit last year and really, really like it. It really allows you to fish the fly at all sorts of depths, and you can even add a weight to it and fish it as a wet fly. It floats really well on the surface with the stiff hackle, but you get that nice soft hackle look. So notice when I apply this feather, I've actually got the curve of the feather going up. So if I wanted the fibers to flare back towards the bend, I would put the feather on the other way, so the curve would go down, towards the shape of the hook. Okay, so I'm going to grab my pliers here, and we'll just kind of tease these fibers forward. Make sure that your thread is behind the partridge feather. So you want to tie it in from behind ideally, and then try and get all these feather fibers, these little barbs, to go the right way on forward. And then we're going to capture that with a couple of wraps, and then we will chop that off. Okay, so that's it for the soft tackle. Now from here you could stop and just do a soft tackle fly, but I just find when I fish these feathers get soaked with water and they just immediately kind of mat down and they just don't give any buoyancy to the fly, which I don't like. But I love the way they look. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tease the thread in front of the hackle, and then I'm going to pull all the fibers back. And sometimes it's easier. I have this little half hitch tool. If you have a little half hitch tool like this, you can just stick it on here, grab it like that, and then what I'm going to do is actually just capture the feather in my fingers and just put one wrap, a couple of wraps. Oh, actually, sorry. Before I do that, I want to throw a quick whip finish in here, and I'll show you why. Try not to grab any of the soft hackle. Okay, so we got our whip finish. Now let's grab those fibers again. And then we are going to, I'm going to just put the thread in between my fingers like this. And I'm just going to do a couple of wraps back like that. And then I'm going to put this into my material clip back here. And then I'm going to cut the thread at this point. Okay, so all that's doing is just holding the feathers out of my way. So it just makes this next part a lot easier. I'm going to end up just trimming off that excess. So we're going to reattach the thread here. Just 2 or 3 wraps will do it. Trim that off. Okay, then we're going to take our stiff hackle, and this is just a grizzly rooster hackle. So it's about that big, as you can see. I want the lighter side facing up towards the eye of the hook. The darker side will be down towards the bend. So just throw a couple of wraps in there. Snip off that little tag in there. That. And then we don't need too much, probably just 1 or 2 turns. This is going to definitely make a mess on the head here, but that's okay. And then we're going to capture this guy. This is always a hard part because you end up grabbing a lot of the feathers. And then we'll just try and trim only that guy out. And then I'm going to use that half hitch tool again. Just tease back all these fibers. Put a few wraps up here like this. Build out a little bit of a head. And then I can also just kind of clean it up a bit. Getting these stray fibers out of here. A few of them just grabbed. Okay, so too bad. And then let's do our whip finish. And that's pretty much it. Trim that guy off, pull this thread back out. And then you just got to find where you ended up tying that in. And I just kind of run the scissors down it and try and find the end of it. Sometimes you have to get a little tag in there that you have to try and dig out of there. But all in all, that makes it a lot easier to get this done. And that's it. That's the fly. So that is my dual hackle. That's a soft and a stiff hackle pheasant tail. Fish is really great. Has a cool look. It's got all these wonderful soft hackles, and in addition with the stiff hackles, so it definitely floats better. You can do a dry, if you treat the hackle with some floating, it'll just stick to the top, and you get that nice emerger effect. If you don't treat the bottom of the fly with dry shake, like I use a Shimazaki, and I'll put a little bit of primer on the hackle up here, and just treat that with the Shimazaki, and it just is a great emerger pattern too. So anyway, give that one a try, and thanks for watching.